Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. It's Fatmata here from Traditionally Inspired Meaningful Art, and this is Friday Sews. Friday Sews was created by Jen from Today in Jen's Sewing Room. We need to catch up. I want to kind of get into a bit of life first, and then we'll get into some sewing stuff because the life bit really will explain a lot of what's been happening in the sewing space. I don't know how this has not come up, but the family and I are traveling like in a week as I'm recording this. So we're going on a really big trip. We're going to be going back home. We're going to Guinea, and I'm thrilled about this. I'm excited about this. I'm anxious about this. I'm nervous about this. I have so many feelings. I haven't been back home since December of 2015. I love it. I'm really excited to go and see my family. I'm excited to go and meet my in-laws for the first time, in person at least. So lots of things. The kids are traveling on an airplane for the first time. That's giving me a lot of anxiety. But if you have any tips for traveling with young people 4 and age 5, long distance travel on a plane, leave it in the comments down below. All right. But that being said, it's going to be a long trip. You may or may not get videos from me or many videos from me in July. I'm going to try my best. If I can sit down and carve out like a few hours one Saturday morning or this upcoming weekend and try and like pre-edit some things to go out for you on a weekly basis while I'm away. We'll see if it happens. If you don't hear from me in July though, just send a positive thought. All right. And that will be just fine. But that is sort of the scoop on like what is coming up. And I think I've been suppressing it because there's so much involved with the preparation for that and so many other things I've been trying to do. And it's catching up to me because I now have to like pack, get sorted, do all the things. It's happening. I'm excited about it. I'm hoping to continue getting excited about it and to kind of calm the nerves as much as possible. After like the spree of sewing I did in June, like earlier in, are we still in June? This is still June. Earlier in June, like for all the Father's Day stuff, I had a really amazing week of sewing. And then it took a lot out of me. What that meant was that I wasn't really sewing as much. However, there is something that I have been working on that I also have not shared with you. I don't know how this hasn't happened. I have been crocheting again, and I haven't crocheted in a minute, y'all. It's been a while. But here's my little crochet hook. Boop. I thrifted this. It came in like a set of 3, and this is a 5mm, size 8. And I started crocheting the weekend that I went away to Charlottesville on my girls trip because I was gonna be a passenger in the back seat for numerous hours, and I was like, oh my gosh, I need to keep my hands busy. So I started crocheting this. It's really, I don't know if this is my best work, but then I wanted to do some sort of like chain detail down here. It'll look better when there's more stuff happening, I promise you. But like, look at this. Ooh, look at this. Ooh. Okay, it's way too late. I need to get to bed. But anyways, I started crocheting this. It's very long. It's very lacy. It's gorgeous. And everyone on the trip was like, what are you making? What are you making? What are you making? Girl, I don't know. I'm just keeping the hands busy, okay? So this is one skein of the yarn. And this yarn is a linen yarn. This is Lino Pura, 100% linen. It came in like 10 skeins in a bundle. And I thrifted it, and I remember getting this, and I shared it in a haul on this channel, I think last year, I guess. And I was like, what does one make with linen yarn? And I just decided to pick it up and start doing whatever the heck I wanted. This is not using a pattern. I don't know how to read crochet patterns. I just like the motion of doing it. So I was doing like a double crochet, I guess is what you called. And then I was like, oh, I'm going to do some like chain piecing. Because it's so wide, like I don't know why I chose to make it this wide, but because it is, it just took so long for me to actually make a loop. And I would get tired. So I decided to use a new skein of yarn, and I started with just a netting here. So I have now, this is 3 skeins in. So I have 1 skein here, 2 skeins, and I can tell by where the loose threads are, where they kind of join. And I'm working on the 3rd skein that I'm working on, and I've gone back to the like net sort of pattern, but I'm doing a different process for this netting, which is allowing it to go by much faster. But it has been so delightful to have a project that I can actually work on around people, right? Like I don't get to sew and just be around my family. So in the evenings when I haven't really felt like sewing, I just like put on a movie and I watch, you know, a movie and just crochet, and it's been so nice. So I get it. I get you knitters out there. I get it. And I didn't want to have to learn a new skill. Like I feel like knitting would be something I would need to really learn. I've knit before, but it's not like something that I can just pick up and run with and do on my own. But me and a crochet hook, we go way back. We go way back. So I was just in my element and it's been feeling so good. At some point, these two will attach. The idea is that, could this be a cover up? Could I like do a cover up and then have this be at the bottom? That's the idea. I don't really know. So currently, I guess I've used 4 skeins total, and this is how much I have. And I think I have about 6 skeins left. So we'll see. We'll see how far we get. I do think that I am going to take my crochet hook and this project with me to Guinea. So that's going to be awesome. Something that I could do on the flight, something that I could do during the layovers, etc., etc. So that's something that I'll be taking with me. So that's a project that I can have on the go, which I'm really, really, really excited about. As far as what I've done sewing wise, let's get back to that. I have my little trolley here. Come on close. Last week, I cut out 3 projects. I'm actually going to pause all of these. Like, I don't think I'm even going to encourage myself to think about beginning any of these projects prior to the trip, because it just would not be advisable with the limited time I have left. But I did want to at least show them to you. And I wanted to start digging into some of the fabrics that I've recently got in that I don't want to start hoarding and I want to start working on. So the first pattern I cut out is this Very Easy Vogue 9014, and I cut out view C, the trousers, the long pants right here. And I thrifted this pattern some time ago. I dug into my resort wear fabrics. This is a very, very shifty rayon, and it took me way too long to cut this out. Way too long. And I didn't take my own advice. I did not starch it to oblivion, so it was my fault. But wow, I feel like this is going to feel so incredibly luxurious on. It's so light and soft. But I did go ahead and cut into this gorgeous print. And I picked up this rayon fabric at G Street Fabrics in the dead stock section. You would have seen this in my haul. I just think that those are going to make a lovely pair of flowy, wide leg, billowy trousers. That pattern does not have pockets in it. I plan to put inseam pockets in mine, I'm pretty sure. Then in that same haul, I had picked up this gorgeous, like, deep teal. It is a rayon voile fabric, which I didn't even know existed, y'all. I didn't even know it existed. I used M8147. I mentioned that I want to revisit this pattern. So I did, but I did a whole lot of really interesting, possibly convoluted things when cutting this out. This fabric, without having starched and ironed it, it just was a nightmare to cut out. It took me over an hour to cut this out because I would move things and it would shift, and I did a bit of snip and rip. And then, so I'm just telling future self, when you come back to rewatch this, because that would be wise for you to do when you get back from the trip, you have the inner bodice part that's just flowing, and then you have the outer bodice part where you cut where you cut it off at the waistline and want to attach a gathered panel to it, but you didn't really cut the gathered panel down to size, so it's going to be dramatically long. And then from there, you might want to decide how much you want to hem it. So just keep that in mind. Don't cut this part out because you're going to need that note to self. Okay. Finally, I cut out Butterick B6702. I cut out the bodice in my Atelier Runette fabric. I knew that I wanted to use the Butterick bodice, and then I was going to add a 2-tiered gather skirt to it, and I also want pockets in this. Here's the thing. I cut out most everything, and then I was left with the under collar and part of the collar stand. And I don't have a lot of fabric left. It's not wide enough, so I am going to have to piece together whatever I have left. I think I have this remnant and maybe one more remnant, this one here. So I have to piece together some fabric and cut the under collar and the collar stand out. That's why I have these pieces here. I'll try and find some other rayon in my stash that's a bit heftier to cut out pockets. I need 4 pocket bags. Make it happen. It's gonna be great. That does mean that I think I am pausing on making the skirt for my sister-in-law as well. I had not cut that out yet, just because I haven't had time to do a lot of things and to like figure out what pattern I was going to use and all of that. So I don't think I'm moving forward with that. And I also have not cut out the additional little stuffy toy that I wanted to make for my best friend's grandma. On another evening where, again, I didn't have the desire to sew, and really what it boiled down to was overwhelm. I'm so overwhelmed. I'm so overwhelmed. But I did want to do something sewing related, so I allowed myself to cut out patterns because it's not my favorite thing to do. And I figured, use your time and do that. So I cut out McCall's 6930, another vintage pattern, and I cut out both views. It's a really nice elastic waist all the way around. One of the views has drawstrings in them, long pants, and I love it. And I've been trying to figure out which pattern I want to make using this gorgeous cotton fabric that I picked up at U Fine Fibers out in Charlottesville, Virginia. So I was like, cut out as many of your, wide leg, elasticated waist pants as possible so that at some point you can make some wearable toiles out of other things and then decide which one you want. I also cut out Simplicity 7777, another vintage pattern, and I did the trousers here as well. So view 1 right there. And I like this one because it has a really interesting pleat detail. I don't know how I'm going to feel about this center pleat, how they just meet in the middle. I don't know how I'm going to feel about that. It doesn't look so bad in the wide leg, but I don't like how it looks in the tapered leg. So I would definitely want to try and fall this. But if you can see from the line drawings, it has an interesting elasticated, partially elasticated back. So I like that it's a flat front with the facing and an elasticated back. And that's the reason why I cut that out. The final thing I cut out were 2 of the slip skirts. Or did I do all 3? I might have done all 3. Of the slip skirts in the McCall's 8796, another vintage pattern, a 2-hour sew of a bias cut skirt. I don't know if I believe it, but love this pattern. It has the more close-fitting, more traditional, I guess, slip skirt. Then view B is a fuller one that's sort of it's almost giving half circle skirt. And then view C is really gathered, so you'll see it in the print. And then here, the line drawings kind of show that very nicely as well. You see the different levels of fullness there. So I cut those out because I definitely have been teasing the fact that I want to make slip skirts, and I just want to make the slip skirts at some point. So I wanted them to be cut out so that I was ready when the inspiration struck, when I returned from the trip. So while I did decide to like pause all sewing, I did find myself at the sewing machine this week, and that was because today, like the evening that I'm filming, this is Wednesday, and today was Eid. This is the Eid that we celebrate at the end of the Hajj season. So it's just been such an incredible couple of days. My aunts completed Hajj, so alhamdulillah, I'm really we're just so blessed and excited to welcome them back. So this was a really meaningful one because I knew some folks who completed the Hajj, the pilgrimage to Mecca, so it was incredible. So today was the prayer, was Eid prayer. So I had I had 2 alterations to make for 2 of my cousins. So I was sewing, but not like sewing for myself or anything like that. But it was nice to kind of be able to be in the sewing space, utilizing it and having to like switch out for different projects, given the new setup that I created. So that was really nice to like see it in action, even if for a little bit. And it was working out much better than it was previously when I had the old setup. So I really like that. And because I've been packing for our family trip, I noticed some clothes that I really would like to take. They're African wax print, like dresses that had been made for me by tailors back home previously. And they're just like little things that I want to alter on them. So I brought those down to the sewing room, and that might be possibly one of the only things that I get done. So there are 3 dresses that I either need to take them in or let them out or hem them up a little bit. In Guinea right now, it's rainy season, and I don't really want fabric pooling on the floor because if we're, driving around or traveling, walking around to go visit people, going and greeting family, etc., I don't want my dresses like in the puddles, in the mud, all of that stuff. So I want to just make sure that these fit, that I feel good about them. So there's a bit of unpicking and sewing that's going to happen with these 3 dresses. And hopefully, if I can put together a video after I've done them, maybe while I'm away, I would have shown you what the alterations were and go into a bit more detail. But that's down here. I've also been packing for the kiddos, so recognizing like, oh, it'd be nice if they had a few more just like jeggings or leggings for my daughter specifically. Again, because it's rainy season, a lot of mosquitoes, different things like that. I just want to make sure that they have things that feel light, cool, and comfortable because it may still be warm-ish, but will like allow them to be covered. So I could buy some, but I could also make some possibly. So I'll have to weigh out should I just buy it? Can I just whip them up real quick? I'll have to weigh that out. And then also you will see what I chose to do there. The other sewing thing that I was able to do since I've seen you last is I began the journey of making the Zimmermann inspired dress. And if you're someone who is choosing to applaud at this time, if you could just do it in the round, that would be most appreciated, because a round of applause would just be so wonderful to commemorate, to celebrate, to respect the progress that has been made, the joy that I have looking at this bundle. So I took it just like this to school in this little baggie. I brought all of my clips. I brought my magnetic pin cushion. I went with my thread and my bobbin. So I brought these and I went to town, okay? I was using a heavy duty Singer machine, and this, I don't know if the speed on it was adjusted to allow it to run as fast as it was running, but the fact that all I was doing was like yards and yards of basting stitches 8 times over. And I say 8 times over because I segmented the length of fabric into 8 parts, and I was going to gather in the 8 sections. Because of how wide this is, there was no way I was going to be using like one string to try and gather this. I don't know if it's 6 or 8 yards of fabric here on the orange. Like, it's a ridiculous amount of fabric. And so I did an 8 part so I could make sure I got even stitches within each section, and just was minding my business per section. Like, don't worry about what's over there. Within this section, is it gathered to your liking? And that worked out for me. So I did the 2 rows of basting stitches in each of those 8 sections. Then I connected it, and then I sewed it, and here it is. And this is the beginning. This is the beginning of the Zimmermann inspired tiered maxi gathered dress. And I'm just so happy. I'm so happy. I'm so happy. So I did, like, I am trying to make this as reinforced as possible. The brown that you see there is still the basting stitch. I left the top one in, but I did, like, for the actual for the actual seam line, I definitely stitched it twice within the seam allowance, because I really am afraid of this unraveling. I feel like I've mentioned this before when I've talked about my apprehensions about making this dress, but I have been slowly, like, if there are threads that really feel like they want to leave, I have been kind of cutting them, clipping them off, so that I don't have to just like remove that entire row from the whole, you know, length of it, because that's what I was doing initially. Like, if there was a thread, I would just pull it, and it would like pull it from the entire length, and I'm like, maybe it didn't need to come off. Maybe just in that section, just clip it. So I've been trying to handle it very delicately so that I don't lose a lot of thread, because again, I have very narrow seam allowance. What I plan to do for the other layers is I want to, while it's a single piece of fabric, do all of the basting stitches throughout. And I just want to do all the basting stitches so that when I attach it to the previous layer, I am not then trying to haul all of that fabric under my machine and run it and do the basting stitches with the rest of that weight, right? Because this is going to get weighty as I add the other fabrics. Putting in the basting stitches for the length of fabric that I have here in the orange took me, I think, about 50 minutes. 50 active sewing minutes of, I think, like winding the bobbin, popping that in, situating myself. Like, I was there at the machine for an hour. What really took me forever was gathering it to my preferred, like, density and making sure that it was even and all of that, and like pinning each of those sections. That took me forever. Like, I put on a movie and just went to town. I did that at home. And then I also stitched it. So the actual stitching of putting it together, I also did at home in the evening. So I could see that if I had all the basting stitches done, and I'm, you know, doing the putting it together and all of that at home, that would work. The nice thing is, when it was just these 2 layers, I could fit it in this large Ziploc bag, you know, the gallon size, and take it in and bring it back. Once I get to like the 3rd, 4th, 5th layer, it's not going to fit in that kind of bag, and it's really going to be a chore to kind of haul this to and from, possibly. So unless I have a consistent amount of days where I plan to be in the office, this is probably, like, after I get the basting stitches done, this is probably then going to just be an at-home project. But are you proud of me? I am so stinking happy. I'm so excited that we're beginning to make progress on this dress, because it was reaching that point of like, will it ever really happen? And now, because I ripped the Band-Aid off and did this ridiculous amount of gathering. In the first one, like every other layer is gonna be much easier. Like there's not gonna be any layer that is as much as the orange layer. So it's like only up from here. And that is exactly the feeling that I wanted to have to begin with. So I'm very, very happy. So I do have to take this in one more time so that I could get the gathering stitches on the green layer, and then I have the other layers ready to go and ready to get their basting stitches in. But like I said, it gets significantly less as far as the yardage. So it'll be good from here. It'll be good from here. So what you can expect from me, I did record a sort of like Me Made May wrap up that you will see in July. And because we're friends here, I hope that you will receive it with love and as an opportunity for us to connect, even though I'm not here, okay? But otherwise, I just hope that upon my return, I have really great things to say about the trip, and I can say, you know what, Fatmata, you were worried about nothing. That was fantastic. That's what I want to be able to say. And let's see how far this grows. Let's see how much it grows. I'm just so excited. Speaking of crocheting, my cousin made this for my daughter for her birthday. She is so freaking talented. So this is crocheted. I have never even, I don't know how to make shapes in crochet or to write in crochet. This color work, I just don't freaking understand. I don't get it. So I was like, how did you do this? It's so cute. It's so beautifully done. So I am just so excited that I've picked up crocheting again. And I just think she's so stinking talented. Like, so cute. I love it. I could talk forever because I feel like I've been talking to you all and yet not necessarily saying the things of what's like things that are actually happening. But I'm gonna leave it here for today, and I'm trying also not to get sick. I hope you're doing well. Send me some positive vibes, y'all. I really need it. I wish I had a question for you. I mean, just like all the things. Think back to everything that I've told you just now in this video. Were you here back when I thrifted this linen yarn? Aren't you excited to see that I actually did something with it? I'm proud of me too. I know. It's great. How are you feeling about this project, knowing that we have the rickrack? We have begun to make progress on the sewing. How are you feeling about it? I just want to know if you have similar feelings to the feelings I'm experiencing. I don't want to be alone in this. I'm just so glad. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. I hope to hear from you. Shout down in the comments down below. Anything. What I'm wearing, let's not forget, this is a 2020 make. It is self-drafted. So here is the dress that I'm wearing, and I will link to my makes from 2020 video that I made where I highlight this dress. It does have pockets, but in a very awkward place, like right at the widest part of my hip, which I would not recommend. But for something that I self-drafted, I am very, very proud of this. It uses two different Ankara fabrics because I was running out of this yellow one. But I think that they complement each other very beautifully. So I'm super proud of this. The bodice is completely lined. Again, with the pockets. It's shorter than I would like it to be. So it's like very, very midi length. So I don't wear it. Like I was considering packing this for my trip, and I don't know that I will. So this might just stay home, but it was nice to like reminisce on my old makes. So that's what I'm wearing today. Have a good one, friends. Bye-bye.